Welcome to our full year press conference here in Vevey. Just a few practical points before we start. This conference will be held in English, but you can also follow in French and German on the headsets provided. For those who are following the conference via webcast, you can ask questions by email over the website stating your name and the media you represent, or for the very first time via our Twitter account @Nestlé Media. Should you wish to interview a member of the executive board after the conference, if you could see my colleague Melanie, who's over there. And finally, you're warmly invited to the stand-up lunch after the conference, which is a good opportunity to network with attending managers. Thanks. Paul, you have the floor.
Well, from my side, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our 2012 annual result press conference, and I welcome also all who is following us via the webcast. It's Valentine's Day, so there's love in the air. I thank you all for your presence and your interest in our company and the results of 2012. On the podium with me, I have Wan Ling Martello, our CFO, my co-pilot, and also Robin Tickle, head of corporate media relations. Also here today is sitting in the front row the executive board of Nestlé, and joining us for the first time in his present capacity or responsibility again is Luis Contrell, executive vice president, who is in charge now of Nestlé Nutrition, and also at the same time president and CEO of Nestlé Health Science. He took over Nestlé Nutrition in December, actually back to Nestlé Nutrition, because also Luis was responsible for the nutrition strategic business division at the time in 2001 to 2005, and actually has set up Nestlé Nutrition, so he knows nutrition very well, has a very wide experience of the whole nutrition industry. So these are two organizations that are reporting in to Luis Contrell now. They're not merged. Also joining us for the last time is Mark Kaira. Mark, Deputy Executive Vice President, responsible for Nestlé Professional. It is Mark who is retiring at the end of April. It is Mark also who has forged the strategy that we have been commenting in the last presentations. That is these branded beverage solutions and also these customized branded food solutions, which is driving the platform now for Nestlé Professional in the world. So Mark, all the best to you, and thank you for all what you've done. Also leaving the executive board, not Nestlé, but leaving the executive board is Jean-Marc Duvazin. Jean-Marc, who is Deputy Executive Vice President for Human Resources, who is going to take up the role of CEO of Nespresso. A very interesting and enjoyable business. So that's from the 1st of March. So also to you, Jean-Marc, thank you for having been part of this team for these years and what you've done. Now let me go to the agenda of today. First of all, we're going to walk you through and give some color to our performance of 2012. I'm going to give the floor to Wan Ling. Then afterwards, I want to go and dig a little bit more into this nutrition, health and wellness agenda strategy that we have, this strategic direction that we have defined in so many colors already over the years. And I want to share with you how that is really the dynamics that creates value for our company in the past and will do also in the future, and how we are continuing to invest in that platform, in that agenda over time. And then we open the floor for questions and answers. But before I give the floor to Wan Ling, let me give some color to the results of 2012. I would say we have delivered on our commitment that was growth and broad-based performance, and building that performance upon profitable growth and profitable performance over the years. So this is performance on performance on performance. And it has been also results driven in all businesses and all geographies. And as I mentioned already before, it is definitely the nutrition, health and wellness agenda It is all nutrition and how we go about that is driving that value creation. First of all, it enhances the nutritional benefits that we give to consumers, that has value. It also differentiates very clearly our brands versus competitors in the marketplace. And at the end, it really is the base of value creation for our shareholders. At the same time, we also have continued to invest upfront for the future. And we have increased, for example, the support behind our brands. We have also extended our R&D network with inaugurations of centers in India and China. We have also inaugurated our Nestlé Institute for Health Science that is backing up our new platform of Nestlé Health Science. We further build our capabilities there too. We acquired Wyeth Nutrition from Pfizer, and we have invested, I would say, responsibly and sustainably in our manufacturing footprint all over the world. We're focusing also in reducing permanently our environmental footprint and impact of our business on the world. We are indeed an and company. So delivering now, 2012, and at the same time investing for the future. And we do that in every part of the world, developed markets and also emerging markets. We are an and company, linking up intensity on the short term and at the same time maintaining the perspective on the long term permanently. But let me now give the floor to Wan Ling to give you some closer look to our financial results and some highlights of 2012. So Wan Ling, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning, everyone. Having just come from our investor webcast that ended not even an hour ago, I assume that most of you have seen that, have watched that. So I will not go through all the numbers again, but let's remind ourselves of what we set out to do in 2012. So in terms of financial performance, the commitment was to deliver the Nestlé model. We have done so. One of our priorities was to improve our working capital performance. This we did with a resulting big improvement also in cash flow. In terms of efficiencies, our target was to deliver at least 1.5 billion Swiss francs. We did so. We've increased the dividend to 2 francs and 5 cents per share. So I would describe 2012 as a good year for Nestlé, especially because of the way we got there, in which we delivered our results. We've delivered our 2012 commitments while laying the foundation to win in 2013 and beyond. Let's now look at the highlights. Sales increased by 8.6 billion Swiss francs in 2012. Organic growth was 5.9% and RIG 3.1%. To deliver this, we had to overcome tough 2011 comparables of 7.5% organic growth and 3.9% RIG. The trading operating profit was up 1.5 billion Swiss francs to 14 billion Swiss francs. Margin was up 20 basis points to 15.2%. And operating cash flow was up 5.5 billion Swiss francs to 15.8 billion Swiss francs. Next, a geographic perspective. Our growth is truly broad-based, like Paul just said, achieved on the back of growth in previous years. This is key. I said in the webcast earlier, a global company can truly claim to be winning only if it can grow everywhere, both in developed markets as well as in emerging, year after year after year. A couple quick comments. In the Americas, we grew both in North America with improving momentum through the year and in Latin America. In Europe, we continued to grow in the West, even despite the macro issues in the region. This was truly a very impressive performance by our European team. Russia has maintained its improved momentum seen earlier in the year to end with high single-digit growth. And in AOA, we ended with double-digit growth in the emerging markets. Japan also had a good year. Kit Kat became the #1 chocolate brand in Japan. Next slide, you see our billionaire brands. As usual, they have outperformed the group with 7% organic growth. Highlights this year include Kit Kat, Nescafé, Nespresso, Nestlé Pure Life, Milo, the infant nutrition and milk brands, as well as One and Dog Chow. To sum up, we delivered a good broad-based set of numbers, delivering on the top line once again and on the margin. We delivered on the earnings and on cash flow. We delivered in emerging markets as well as the developed world. We have grown the portfolios across all segments. And we know, like I said this morning, there is no room for complacency, which is why we have continued to invest for the future in our people and brands, in R&D, and as Paul will highlight shortly, in our capacities as well as our capabilities. This sets us up really well to win in our markets around the world in 2013 and beyond, to deliver the Nestlé model and to continue to drive the consistent growth, the performance improvement, to drive the brand investment that is the Nestlé DNA. So at this point, I'll turn it over back to Paul.
No, thank you very much, Wan Ling. So good results for your first year, I must say. So congratulations. These good results are also coming because it's actually the efforts of more than 330,000 people that makes Nestlé in the world that are so aligned and also so dedicated to our agenda that is bringing these results. I commend 330,000 people that make Nestlé in the world. In previous years, I have shared with you in several occasions, first of all, our roadmap. I spoke about alignment. It is this roadmap that aligns this whole company. It is defining what we want to be as a company, strategic direction, nutrition, health and wellness. It is defining what we're going to leverage as competitive advantages, where we are looking for growth specifically, how we're going to organize our company effectively and efficiently, and how we will want to link up with society at large to creating shared value. So I spoke about this roadmap. I have then also shared with you how strong, how important innovation is for our company, and how instrumental they are in driving value and growth, and how we are leveraging our competitive advantages, even more relevant so when the crisis came in. We call that a new reality. And we also shared with you the importance and our commitments and engagements in the developing markets. And today, actually, I want to go back to basics. It's talking about nutrition, health and wellness. Nestlé is all about nutrition. And with that comes then also health and wellness. It is the core of what we do. It has been on the onset almost 150 years ago. We started about nutrition. It drives also very much competitive advantages in our brands. It addresses also the specific nutritional needs of the local needs of consumers all over the world. It drives also, and very importantly, it drives also our profitable growth. It is the execution behind this agenda that gives all the dynamics and the arguments for profitable growth, and as a result, it drives shareholder value. It also drives our meaningful positive relationship as a company and society at large, because we are part of driving solutions to the specific needs, evolving needs of society on a nutritional level, and also on the specific conditions and problems of society at large. Yes, indeed, Nestlé is all about good food, good life. And our ambition, and we have shared that with you, is to be the preeminent leading nutrition, health and wellness company. It is to, by doing so, also delivering and to be a reference of financial performance. It is linked with how we want to build trust with all stakeholders in society. And as a leading nutrition, health and wellness company, we are really aiming at enhancing people's lives, by offering tastier and healthier choices, food and beverage choices, and that at all stages of life, at every moment of the day. And so doing so, we are helping our consumers to care for themselves and their families. And as I said, Nestlé is all about nutrition and what it means for quality of life. And Nestlé has been that, as I said, from the start, 150 years ago almost. And we have adapted by the society and change of society, nutrition and the role of nutrition and insights and the knowledge about nutrition has changed over time. And through these developments, nutrition, health and wellness strategy has basically three aspects. First of all, we have the food and beverage, where we, through normal food for normal people in normal days, want to bring more nutritional arguments into our product portfolio. It is about taste combined and pleasure combined with nutritional profiles. Then specifically in food and beverage, we have these specific needs. That's why Nestlé Nutrition was set up. It is an important part of the agenda in the sense that it goes and organizes itself towards specific needs, particular nutritional needs of consumers, like infant nutrition, performance, or weight management. And then we have this new platform that we're building, where we have done already quite a few advances in, is Nestlé Health Science, which is really that looking for science-based nutritional solutions for specific medical conditions, because that relationship about nutrients and the human body over time is something that is really very, very promising. Even more so if you consider that with society and healthcare costs, etc. Well, our strategy, the nutrition, health and wellness strategy, is not new. As I mentioned, actually we started almost 150 years ago because of a nutritional argument, by saving the life of a child. And we have been building, reinforcing, strengthening that over the years. And we do that through three big dimensions. First of all, the products, our portfolio. Bringing products that are part of a nutritional enhanced life. Products, definitely. That's where R&D and or development comes in. The second pillar is communication, and I'm going to go into some more detail there, because you have to connect with society over this, and linking up with society is definitely the third part, because nutrition, it has an increased understanding and importance in society, considering also some challenges society has, like non-communicable diseases and obesity. But let me walk you very fast through products. We want our brands to win on taste, but also on nutritional profile. And that is what we have there. We are really using all our experience, all our insights, all our knowledge to bring that agenda through the 60-40 plus that we have shared with you as an approach that combines two dimensions. First, the 60-40. We want and we are convinced that food has to be pleasurable. It has to taste well. If not, it's not part of people's diets. So we are really looking into and spending many resources into driving that taste profile and preference in our products. 60-40 plus. We want to have a 60 win versus in blind test versus competition. But the plus stands also for nutritional profiling. We have to have nutritional arguments. Positive arguments, not only relevant towards the competitors. We have to be better on nutrition, but we have to give also, in absolute terms, nutritional arguments. And we have been driving that agenda, and that's a very heavy agenda over the years. For example, last year, we have, in general permanent, 1/3 of our portfolio in that pipeline, being checked or being reformulated or being confirmed as such. Last year, for example, we had 32 billion equivalent of sales in that process. So in that sense, over the last 5 years, for example, we have renovated, reformulated, given more nutritional profiles and taste improvements on 38,000 products. So it's a very silent but very sizable effort. Last year, for example, we have introduced with additional nutritional innovation more than 7,000 products. Another way of helping there is, for example, the micronutrient fortification. We have shared that with you in several occasions. It is also taking normal food, who are part of normal diets and where we are already active, and fortify them accordingly to the specific needs. And we know there's a mapping about these specific needs of the world, and today, there are 2 billion, 1/3 of the world population almost, that suffer from deficiencies in iron, iodine, vitamin A or zinc, or a combination of these. And we have carriers. We are selling billions of products a day that are potentially carriers of these micronutrient fortifications. So we build them in the natural diets of people. So like, for example, the iodine fortification in more than 860,000 tons of Maggi products in the world, or the golden Morn family cereal in Nigeria, who is fortified with vitamin A and iron, or almost all our milk products that we have are in some way or another fortified with vitamins or minerals. All in all, Nestlé, for example, last year has delivered 160 billion servings of fortified products in the world. And we do that also in collaboration with governments and non-governmental and non-governmental organizations. So it's part of our daily business, yet at the same time it drives agendas specifically where we connect with society at large. Another example is how we have been, our internal initiative of really framing inside Nestlé our going about reduction of salt, sugar, trans fatty acids or saturated fats. I think we are the first company. We are the first company that really to put in place a comprehensive policy framework, nutrition policy framework in place to systematically reduce in our portfolios these elements, these ingredients. We had a policy of trans fatty acids in place as from 1999 and re-updated that in 2003, a salt policy that we actualized in 2005, sugar 2007, saturated fats 2009. And these policies are constantly updated and are really framing, again, all operations, all portfolios everywhere in the world, because there we use our global knowledge of how to do that, how to reduce without affecting taste, etc., worldwide over. So, for example, in salt we have reduced over the last years 13,000 tons of salt in our products. We have reduced over the last years 30% of the average sugar content of our products, 30% reduction without affecting or actually also enhancing taste. So that said, products 60-40 plus, this agenda is a heavy agenda. Fortification and all what it means, internal ingredient policies, these are relative silent actions. They are not really so strongly visible, yet at the same time they have a huge positive effect. First of all, of really bringing better nutrition and being part of our agenda. Secondly, also in driving value for this company. A second pillar, I said, of our agenda is communication. You have to connect and communicate with consumers, and best taste, best nutrition is only half the battle. You have it in your product, it's only half the battle. You have to connect, and the consumer has to be informed. You have to create a dialogue, and there are different ways of doing that. The first one was a few years ago. We started with portion guidance framework. It is a base to really assure that our people that are driving our connections with consumers, driving our portfolios, are really inducing the right amounts and the right, I would say, frequency of consumption of our products. In 2005, we introduced a nutrition compass that is now on almost 100%, 97, 98% of all our products have a nutrition compass where the consumer can really connect. There's some information directly, but also the links, how they can really inform them better about our products. We have also the guideline daily amounts, the GDAs, that started in Europe, and we have rolled that out worldwide over. We have today almost 50% of our packaging already worldwide. With GDAs, I think a good framing of data that allows good choices. And we go beyond packaging, clearly via different media, websites, social media. We have apps that can be downloaded. We have call centers to start really this dialogue about people that are interested in our products and how they can make them part of their healthy diet. And the effort still goes further, I must say. Not only it is what we do ourselves, it is also how we can collaborate with public health bodies, governments, and other organizations towards healthier societies. And as a leading nutrition, health and wellness company, Nestlé is definitely part of that. We are gearing ourselves to being part of the solution. And the central role, I think, of a healthier society is education. Education is, in my eyes, one of the base elements and the base drivers of a healthier society. It is making consumers, the persons, knowledgeable about how nutrients and food is part of their life and how it should be managed to be positive part of their lives. And that's why we have the Nestlé Healthy Kids program that we started actually to formalize in 2009. It started actually earlier, but 2009 we formalized it as the Nestlé Healthy Kids program that aims to raise the nutrition, health and wellness awareness and also to promote physical activity, specifically with children, because they are so open to learn the right things from the start. And we are doing that with governmental, so it's not a Nestlé program that goes to the school. It is we induce it, organize it for its governments and educational responsibilities that are organized that in the respective countries. We are working with also the International Association of Athletic Federations to promote, together with knowledge and about nutrition, also the physical activity. We have programs running in over 65 countries now, and we do that with 250 partners, and we have touched over the last 3 years 15 million children already. So this is a continuous effort, as we are really truly believing that you can only connect meaningfully in communication about nutrition when there is a minimum of education about nutrition. We continue doing these efforts. This is what we have been doing, and this is what we continue to do. It is something that we have been doing many, many years ago. We intensified that quite dramatically the last years, and we have invested in 2012 in these platforms too. Indeed, the understanding of how food and nutrition evolves is very important, and that's why we have strengthened our R&D footprint. We have deepened our insights because they are the base of delivering these added value and innovative products and technologies. Our R&D networks now spans over 34 centers in Nestlé alone, with the addition in 2012, as I mentioned before, of India and China. They're going to have specific areas where they're going to focus on. We also had established our clinical development center in Lausanne here, where we're going to do our clinical trials more effectively and efficiently to evaluate the impact of food and ingredients on the human, I would say, biology and health. We also have quite hundreds of millions of Swiss francs invested in venture funds, where we really have close to what's up there outside our own company, our own knowledge, to be part of that, to explore the new initiatives that are happening there, the new scientific insights that can be aggregated and complemented with ours. We have also 300 research partners, partners with whom we do research programs like suppliers or universities. Indeed, R&D delivers breakthroughs nowhere more than in Nestlé Health Sciences is important. And Nestlé Health Science, as I mentioned before, it is science-driven nutritional solutions. So science is at the core of it. And we have established Nestlé Health Science now 2 years ago. Last year we started with the institute to look for these solutions, specifically in aging, critical care, pediatrics, metabolic health, brain health, gastrointestinal. So we have defined also our platforms we're going to focus on. We have also accelerated our engagement there through joint ventures and acquisitions, like in the last year's VitaFlow, Prometheus. In the United States, diagnostic capabilities were built up there. And now last year we have taken a stake in Axera, that goes about brain health, Alzheimer, and also we have been starting our partnership with Nutrition Science Partner there in China. That gives us this whole dimension of food and how the Chinese see food as an integral part of health in their diets. We bring that access to that in these insights. 2012 was also the year that we bought from Pfizer Wyre Nutrition, an acquisition that enhances and expands our maternal and infant nutrition footprint. Great brands, great people, also very complementary to our portfolio, to our geographic footprint too. We are convinced of the importance of the first 1,000 days. It is, if food is very important for health in life, well, it starts actually before birth, and that's what we all say through Start Healthy, Stay Healthy. It is really these first 100 days are setting the foundation for better lives, better health in later life, and that with Wyatt we are just expressing that, how we are truly believing in this first early years. Then Nestlé's ambition, as I said, is to be the leading nutrition, health and wellness company. That is what we embrace. That is at the core of what we stand for. That is what profiles and aligns all the people in Nestlé. And we want to be doing that also at the same time to stay as reference in constant financial performance year over year. And be trusted by all stakeholders. These three elements are intimately intertwined. It is the focus on nutrition, health and wellness. It's the focus on nutrition that brings this health and wellness, that drives our agenda, that drives our value. It brings value for the consumer, definitely, better, more nutritional products. It brings, by doing so also, and the engagement of Nestlé on these issues together with a broader public, it drives the positive connection with Nestlé and society at large, and at the end it creates value for our company or for the shareholders. And as I mentioned, that is the alignment of 330,000 people behind us. We have an internal nutrition education program, because I don't believe that a company that wants to be nutrition, health and wellness can have people who don't know about nutrition, health and wellness. So the 330,000 people, they are educated on nutrition and they stand behind it. They do that effectively and efficiently. That is what has delivered the results of 2012, and that is what will deliver the value and the growth, profitable growth in 2013 and beyond. Now, 2013 doesn't look different from the last years we had. Challenging years, interesting years, passionate years, but difficult years. And 2013 will have its difficulties, definitely. It will have also many, many opportunities to leverage our competitive advantages again to deliver value growth. And therefore, again, we expect in 2013, once again, to deliver organic growth of 5 to 6%, together with improved trading profit margins and underlying earnings per share, and doing that also while we improve capital efficiency. That is our commitment. It's a commitment of all of us, 330,000 people in Nestlé. And now I open up the floor for your questions. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks, Paul. Could you please wait for the microphone and state your name and the media you represent when you ask the question? Thank you.
Hello? Hello? Yeah. Hi, John Revel, Wall Street Journal. Looking at your figures today, it seems emerging markets are slowing quite a bit. I was wondering, how much of a concern is this for the company? And do you think this is a trend that's here to stay? Ultimately, do you think the days of kind of really easy gains in sort of emerging markets are over?
Oh, they're definitely not. Hello. They're definitely not over, I must say. If you see, the emerging markets had growth of 11% last year. So this is very commendable growth. We are not really guiding our dynamics and our beliefs on quarters, as you know. So there are dynamics, but the traction and the reason of growth of the emerging markets is as valid as ever. You just have to travel through the world to just feel the energy of that 80% of the world population really working for a better tomorrow. That is what we are looking for. That is what is driving us. I don't see this really slowing down. It is a little bit like I was in India this year, and this whole discussion in India, the authorities and yes, indeed, they had 5, 6, 7% growth. That was dramatic because you used to 12% growth. Well, I don't believe 12% growth is something you can sustain as one country. But then, because then your engine heats up and all that, so 5 to 6 is too low too. So they find new balances in these countries. They have accelerations and decelerations, but 5, 6, 7% in a huge country like that, having a broader footprint as a company is part of that 5 to 6% growth that we as a global company worldwide are committing for. So, and you see Africa. Africa has an average of 5, 6, 7% growth the last, I would say, 7, 8 years. Well, it was not 5, 6, 7. It was a range of percentages that changes over time. That's the dynamics of our, and I would say there we have a little bit of a natural hedge. By our broad footprint that we have worldwide, one balances out. That's why we are actually committing to this line of growth, 5 to 6%. We see some acceleration coming in other markets that were depressed before. So that is the line and the reason why we think about the 5 to 6% to continue that over time.
So do you see sort of slowing emerging markets growth next year, sort of lower than this 11%? That's the days of double digit are kind of behind it, still strong but less.
That's a challenge I give to Nandu. No, that's okay. Yes, he said yes.
Any further questions? Yes, Emma. If you could have that.
Emma Thomason from Reuters. Can you give us any more update on the progress of integrating Wyatt Nutrition and divestments, and also what your M&A plans are for this year? Any more big acquisitions on the horizon?
Well, it is very early days. You know that we have Wyatt acquired at the 1st of December, but started to be part of us. Actually, there are more details Luis can give. But let me give a heads up on this. It is going very well. As I mentioned, we have very good people there, and we don't integrate completely the whole business. We keep it as a standalone. As we said, it is complementary, it has its own dynamics, etc. We're not going to destroy the value we have paid for by just trying to integrate it completely at the first day. But we are coordinating actions there, definitely now as from. We always mentioned we have now South Africa and Australia, that we have now a decision from the authorities and a decision we agreed upon. So that is in the process now, and we're still awaiting other countries like Latin America. I must say that we have foreseen that. We knew that certain businesses were compromised, so that I would say, as authorities are acting and deciding, is totally in line with what we expected. The third question.
It's M&A.
Well, M&A, well, I must say, when opportunities like Wyatt comes by, we engage. But our policy stays the same, that we go for bolt-on acquisitions where it makes sense, where the opportunities are in line with our strategy, and also where it makes business sense and also cultural sense. And I must say, in Wyatt Nutrition, that's definitely the case, cultural sense.
John?
John Halpert, Associated Press. You had by far the slowest growth in Europe. I'm wondering if you see the same conditions this coming year, if you see that changing at all. Is there anything that you might be able to do to improve that performance? Thank you.
Well, you see, that's the strength of relativism. It is the slowest growth in Nestlé. I wouldn't say it's the slowest growth in Europe, but it's growth. Europe is not growing, and as I mentioned, we don't allow ourselves to use the GDPs to explain. So we're not selling on the numbers of GDPs, but it is growth, and it is good growth. It is quality growth. And actually, it is growth all over Europe. It is not one part of Europe compensating for the other. If you think that, for example, we're so proud also that we have growth in Greece, for example. We have very good figures in Spain, in spite of all the downturn there and the consumer confidence so low. So we have a very interesting growth in Europe that is also value and volume growth. And that is linked again with what we explained over time. First of all, we don't allow ourselves to have the explanation. Second, we have driven dramatic acceleration in innovation and renovation, creating relevant value for consumers at large. I still believe that food and beverages, good taste and all that, is integral part of happiness in society at a cheap price. So that is what we sell, and it looks like the consumers in Europe are understanding that. So it is the slowest in Nestlé, definitely not the slowest in the market.
Romeo Regenas from Tagesanzeiger. Under other activities, you have quite different branches like Nestlé Professional, Nespresso, Nestlé Health Science. Can you give some more detailed numbers to the different categories?
Sorry, I didn't. What category is that?
It's in the other category, Nestlé Health Science. We don't break that out. Yeah, it's in the other category. We've got Nestlé Health Science, Professional, Nespresso, and I would say that all three businesses grew. So we don't break out. We don't provide the breakout in terms of each business or organic growth, but we're very pleased with all three businesses.
Hi, hello. My name is Hiro Maiga. I'm a Japanese correspondent working for the Asahi Shimbun, Japan newspaper. I have a question on currency. Given the fact that Nestlé is a Swiss company and delivering results in Swiss franc, and given the fact that there has been 1.5 years passed since the Swiss National Bank has been adopting this unlimited intervention, does this currency stabilization policy affect the result, especially in purely Swiss products like Nespresso? Thank you.
Well, in general, stability is a good thing, because you can frame what you want to do, you can frame your priorities. So more stable Swiss franc was a good thing, because you could do that. You may remember the last years the Swiss franc has gained quite dramatically, but we always said that as we are doing, and we are so decentralized, we are actually hedged against whatever Swiss franc strength is. The problem was more the aesthetics of consolidation, that you're growing but with smaller numbers, but Swiss francs. What you're saying now is that stabilization for products like Nespresso or others that we export, you may know that more than 60% of all what we produce in Switzerland is exported, so or more even. I must say that's the strength also of Switzerland, that has been able to compensate the strength of the Swiss franc with more productivity and added value, and that is what we have been doing also. So we are exporting, and it affects you, but it should not be the reason why you would do short-term reaction on this. And a stable Swiss franc has helped us to calm the nervousness down and the uncertainty down. So definitely that was, I would say, a very positive evolution.
Ulrich Rotzinger from Blick. I wonder how long Nestlé would be capable to deliver the world with Nespresso mainly produced in Switzerland. Maybe you can give a focus on Romont, on Fribourg. And what about the Nespresso sales in 2012? To give a little bit an idea, do you pass the 4 billion frontier? And last question, do you see an end to double-digit growth rates with Nespresso?
No, we don't. But anyhow, Nespresso has given us again a lot of joy. We passed the 4 billion. Well, that is what we committed to a few years ago. So, and we normally try to deliver on our commitments. I'm not going to say we did it though. But also Nespresso in Switzerland, it is true that, and we have evaluated where to put the new factory, and the decision came out in Romont. That was done by professional people who know how to do that. And I must say, Switzerland, and good for Switzerland. I hope we keep it as productive and as it is, and as creative of finding solutions to compensate. The Swiss franc didn't help us, but the Swiss franc was part of the equation. And Romont came out as the place, or Switzerland first came out, and then Romont specifically as the place to build a new factory. So how long can we go? And I don't know. We just starting to build this third factory, and so we're going to see. But there's a good element to have a triangle, 3 factories of Nespresso close by, because there's so much knowledge, experience, and expertise linked with Nespresso. This is not just something simple. This is quality needs quality to produce, and we have that here. So these are very strong arguments. That's why we are here, and we're going to see how it evolves. You say also, how long can that go on and all? Well, if you think that something like 75-80% of all what is Nespresso is Europe, I think that's an answer. We're just starting. That is what Jean-Marc Duvoisin believes in, and I believe in that too. So it is really the strength of this offering, this quality offering, is just really starting to roll out in the world. There's lots of competition because success invites success. But it has make this whole category very, very dynamic, and so we like competition because it gives the dynamics of the category. We like competition, not too much though, but we like good competition.
Melanie, we have some questions from the web, I think.
Yes, we have a question from Côte d'Ivoire, from Marianne Koulibaly from the Côte d'Ivoirian Press Agency. And she's asking, the numbers presented today are very satisfactory, but after 150 years, which are the areas where you are not satisfied and where do you still want to improve?
Oh, there are many areas, I must say. We're never satisfied. First of all, you have to drive a business or a company like Nestlé on all levels permanently, because you always challenge. There is always new things coming up. There are always new opportunities. So there's that permanent drive. It's not a company that, okay, we can park a few things and we have to focus on. We focus on all levels, all categories, all geographies. We're also focusing on what's not there yet, and that's the whole R&D. So there is a really high level of adrenaline and tension, a healthy tension in the organization to go after all. Now we have certain dimensions where we can say we should be able to be happier, and it is not global categories. It is specific parts of categories and specific geographies, and we do have challenges like weight management, very promising, but it has a challenge, and we have mentioned that. We have certain dimensions in certain areas that, although we have now sorted that out and momentum comes back, but we have frozen food in the United States, for example, where we are really deliberately backed off from doing too many promotions to be in that category, because we felt that category was really losing its value. So we backed off on being on deal. That is, and then you have to drive innovation to compensate for that. That takes a little bit of time, but it's coming back. We have certain areas of ice cream where we're not happy at all. So we're gonna have to tackle the quite many things, and that is actually also a base, or the base of committing to further improvements, because we see these upsides of tackling these problems, and that is quite motivating.
Hello, my name is Katsuhiko Hara. I'm a news writer for a newspaper called Nikkei in Japan. I understand that in the past few years that you're encountering a problem with like a imitation of your product, as in Kit Kat or Nespresso. Do you feel that protecting your intellectual property is becoming more of a burden? And as you grow your business in China, do you think you will face more of this in the near future?
You speak about copycats. It has been a problem for always, I must say. When I started in Latin America, we had some of that. We see some intensification. Also, that is linked because we are, or the world is more present worldwide. So you see lots of, I would say, wrong initiatives, and it is clear that that is very dear to us, very important to us. And we work with all the authorities, and we take all actions to go against that, because it touches the soul of what I mentioned before, the trust. The trust people put in our brands. It should be in our products and our brands. And when you start touching that, that's very bad. So, and I must say, we have all over the world, in China and everywhere, very good collaboration of the authorities, because they understand too that may destroy a very important part of society. So, but that's, as long as you have the wrong initiatives and the wrong entrepreneurship, you may have these issues, but it is by fighting them that you go and frame it better.
Is it costing you more than it used
to? As I said, it is more present, because the world is more present in the world. And the world is more interconnected. There are more opportunities.
Uli.
Uli Hoch, AWP. I'd like to come back to your organic growth rate targets. You reached nearly 6% in a year with big challenges. You see big challenges this year as well. Does it mean you have organic growth rate near 6% again? Or in other words, shouldn't you lift the target range a bit to maybe 6 or 7% as some people expect?
You're hungry. Yes.
We continue to guide based on our Nestlé model, which is 5 to 6% organic growth. So.
But let me give some philosophical background to this. We would have something like 10%, and why not? And is that not what has or conditioning too much our society? Because growing 5-6% is a line we want to walk. No, 5 to 6%, the size of our company. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of capacity to build in. That's a lot of relationships to build up. And if you do want to do that with quality, with consistency, part of quality is also consistency over time. You have to pace things out. And I do believe that we can force for 1 year, we can force, but the word force is already conditioning the result over time. So, and I think there is wisdom in consistency. In what I call the mountaineer going up the mountain. And we're in Switzerland. Many people in the room, you understand what I'm saying. It is pacing things out. You have to train your people to have the right way of working, to do it safely, to do it hygienically, to do this, to do that. You have to train each time. And to do it wisely with relationships that are continuing over time. So that's why we say also the 5 to 6% is a line that we feel in the frame of things. The world growing, be it 3%, 4%, 5%, to be part of that. And that reflects, but being sharper and so growing faster than the environment that we live in. That's why we come to 5 to 6%. And we have over-delivered in certain years because there was some more pricing, etc. And I think in 1 or 2 occasions maybe we may have got to 4.9. And we were actually then also questioned, what's happening with nothing? It is that line, that continuity, that is important. It is to be something that walks in, I would not say harmony, I speak about a lot of intensity, but it walks on a line that is sustainable, and that is important to me.
I think we have some more questions from the web.
We have a question from Karen Lenschner from Figaro, and she's asking about our growth map for Eastern Europe, and especially about PPPs in Europe.
Well, I may give that maybe to you, Laurent. Eastern Europe, the growth there, and PPP in Europe, you have been driving that initiative. We had a few years ago, we started when indeed the PPP in Europe was something that was more seen in the developed markets. But Laurent started the whole project there with a certain commitment. So you may comment on this, please, Mike.
Yes, thank you, Paul. There is a focus, obviously, on driving growth in Central and Eastern Europe, which is the emerging part of Europe, especially Russia, which accounts for half of our business there, offers great opportunities going forward. So we have put a lot of emphasis on driving growth, building up capabilities, putting new manufacturing facilities in place to drive business performance, and we have seen phenomenal growth with categories like pet care, coffee. Dolce Gusto had a great start also in Russia, and so on and so forth. Obviously, PPP is a big part of the story, because if you look at emerging consumers in the pyramid of the consumers, that's a sizable share of the consumer landscape, up to 40% in a country like Ukraine. So the opportunity is there. But what I would like to highlight always is that we drive both PPP and premium, super premium. What is happening is that the markets are polarizing. Mainstream is squeezed. PPP is growing, affordable is growing, but also premium, super premium is growing as well in those countries. Now, to be a bit more specific on PPP, lots of initiatives across categories. And in Europe, we have been growing PPP 2.8 times faster than the average of the categories. So that's the outcome. I cannot resist underlining that to the question on the growth in Europe, that many companies are not achieving worldwide the growth that we achieve in Europe. The 2.4% growth this year is on top of a 5% growth last year. So that to put things in perspective. Thank you.
Well said.
Regenas from Tagesanzeiger again. In the beginning of March, Switzerland will have an important votation about compulsory votes on General Assembly for management compensation. Now, what is the position of Nestlé regarding this? Will Nestlé leave Switzerland if this will pass, as it is quite possible?
You're very curious. No, we're definitely always welcoming societal discussions on things that make the society better. We're against the Minder initiative. Why? First of all, it wants to criminalize, give some criminalization of the commercial law to start with. Second, it is actually not, it is deceptive in the sense that it says it goes towards compensation and all, but it doesn't. It touches the commercial law in such a sense that it takes power away from the governing body of an organization, the board, towards shareholders. Now you have to think things through. What does it mean? It means that maybe, and many of these shareholders, not all of them, many are not, but maybe short term. Now we know, and you know that, how we think about long-term perspectives of companies to be healthy. Now if you give more power to short-termism, well, you may end up with surprises. On the other side, you give us also to, and that may, and I want to touch a little bit the Swiss pride on you. You should probably be proud of your country. It's a light in darkness. You're gonna also give more power to foreigners. You have to see the shareholder base of Nestlé. Well, we may be surprised again. There, so we are against it definitely. Also because that's going to affect the interest or the attractiveness of Switzerland for companies to be or to come, and that is jobs. And it is not only the big companies, because it looks like an initiative that goes against big companies. It is not. If you would say now how many people are indirectly linked with our activity and our presence in this country, there are many small and medium companies linked with that. And that is not expressed. That's why I'm saying it's inceptive. It goes about a popular title, and you can discuss. That's another discussion. And it is it is worthwhile having that discussion. But inducing a population towards voting for something that has results that are not inspected or not discussed, I feel is deceptive. Even more so because the initiative, when none voted, it doesn't fall in emptiness. It goes straight to a counter-initiative or a proposal that has thought through these things and that has taken into account many of these arguments in a much more balanced way without destroying the strength of this country and this country as an attractive place to be. So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying, because we want to stay here.
James Shodder from the FT. Can I just ask about the horse meat scandal that's sort of roiling Europe at the moment, and whether that's affected you in any way, whether you've had to withdraw any products or whether you've ramped up your own testing as a result? And then secondly, on the same issue, what you think is behind it? Are the supply chains of big sort of food companies now too complicated? Thank you.
Well, it has affected us because the whole industry is in question again, and that is unfortunate, really bad. I mean, because a few actions, a few initiatives, a few bad things, and bang, the whole industry again is questioned, and that is bad. I feel this is really bad for so many people working hard to continue to give safe and good food. And de facto today we have safe and good food, but these initiatives or these things affect the whole food and beverage industry. Are we affected directly? No. The Findus brand is is not ours. In the rest of Europe, it is only here in Switzerland that we own the Findus brand. We do have very stringent and very disciplined policies with our suppliers. We check them permanently, and we have built relationships over time that has created that trust relationship, but checked, and that costs money. Also, quality has a price. So that is why we sometimes also a little bit more expensive, maybe, but because these things, they cost money. But we are continuing to do that. It is clear that after when such a thing occurs, we intensify dramatically and check everything double and triple. So we have been doing that. I can say, for what we know, everything what is under our labels and what Nestlé produces is not affected. But definitely Findus here in Switzerland is not affected. And we have been priding ourselves to have local ingredients with all the costs included. But that's then an advantage that we have there. Now, you say, is that showing that the industry is this or that? I must say, I think the knowledge, the way we go about food, the new insights that we have, etc., is definitely allowing better and safer food and more tastier and all that. So definitely that is possible, and that is what we are striving for as a company. Now, you have the interconnectivity of the world too, and the traceability. We have been investing very heavily as a company on traceability, because we know that in a world that is so interconnected as it is today, that traceability is of utmost importance for creating that relationship of trust, to know what's in there. And so we have invested heavily. They definitely, this is not one initiative. This is linked with many initiatives that we had. But the transparency, for example, that Global has given us is just that. It gives us, with a push of a button, we know where things come from and all that. We have to intensify though, because you can go deeper and deeper upstream, and that is what we are aiming at. Because the world of today, yes indeed, is more interconnected, yet at the same time is more exposed. And as I said, one of our 3 aims is to be trusted by all stakeholders. That is built upon these in the efforts from Nestlé side.
Christina Gnöcke from Bilanz. I just have a question to Nestlé Health Science. So I'd like to know what kind of products you will focus in the future there. And how will that business contribute to your numbers if you're looking forward? And the third one would be on that, is it possible, and maybe how to combine part of that business with other parts of your business?
Look, what kind of products? I mentioned it already. We have already close to 2 billion there. So we have mentioned that, and that is growing. And we have products specifically like Resource Senior Plus, which is, or in the United States, Boost, specific products that are geared to specific parts of the population that has specific medical conditions. These are bases, but we're investing for platforms that would give and other dimensions of products that are aiming at specific medical conditions like gastrointestinal or like brain health and all. With Axera, we are already engaging there. So these are the kinds of products. I have mentioned 6 platforms. Basically, these are the platforms that we want to focus on, because there's a myriad of possibilities. You have to pick your interest areas. Contribution to the numbers I mentioned already is sales, but you have to see the potential. This is not a short term. We wouldn't expect in 1 year, 2 years time that to be a very substantial part of Nestlé. I do believe it's snowball. It's going to be a snowball, because if you just see the proportion of things, I think the healthcare cost in the world is over is trillions and exploding, and you have the whole emerging markets fading in and structuring their societies, getting more affluent, and they have this alternative of healthcare systems that are not financed anymore, or not, and exploding in the Western world. They're not going to jump to that and copy that. They want to see the alternatives, and I do believe nutrition, inductive health, true nutrition is one of these, I would say, one of the most important drivers of a better, balanced, healthy society instead of corrective health. And that is what this whole thing is about. And you speak about trillions on one side. We don't say it's going to be trillions, but it is an area that really is promising, and that's why we invest. And that's the strength of our company. We have delivered in 2012 results, but we have invested hundreds and millions already on the news platforms. They are covered with the results of the rest of the business because these are future platforms that are promising. That is the story of Nespresso, 25 years. We're talking a lot about Nespresso today, but during 20 years that was silent investment, and that is what I would say one of our strengths. Nutrition health science is definitely one of these areas. We opened an institute where we have, I would say, professors and doctors of the best working together there to create these platforms for the future. So I'm very enthusiastic and upbeat for it. I definitely believe that's going to have value. That is not tomorrow, or no, after tomorrow, yes. And in the meantime, Luis Cantrell is working and driving this business very successfully and profitably, per se, because we have a base to build upon.
Frédéric. Hello, I am Frédéric Burnand for Swiss Info. I have two questions. First, it seems that there is a trend in some Western companies to take back some production unit from China to the homeland or other countries. So for you, is it a trend, a strong dynamic, or you are not concerned as a Western company, but also a world company? And my second question, due to your consideration about health and food, when will you merge with Novartis? Thank you.
I consider the second question answered. Because I don't see any plausible answer there. But Western companies taking back, etc. We should not be confusing two things here. First of all, there's many companies who went there to produce for the world as a production center. And then they see and they recalculate. They're not going to make their accounts. We are engaged in China, as Nestlé is engaged in many markets for the Chinese consumer. We are a decentralized company that has activities, production, food is local, etc. We are engaged for the long term in these countries. So we don't move production units and we produce because it's cheap, and then whenever the conditions are a little bit changed, we change. So our factories, our brands, our people, our management is in China for China and for the long term. So I would make that definitely differentiation between what we stand for, at least, and what other companies may do.
We have an additional question from the web.
This time it's concerning the Americas. The question comes from Michelle Russell from Just Food, and she's asking how you view your performance in North America in the last year and what you're trying to do to improve it.
Well, I'm never satisfied, and I think North America was a very, very good platform, has driven and was accretive to the group and all that. On growth, it has been softening, and we know, I have mentioned it already, a few platforms that like frozen food that we really disengaged from certain dimensions that would have given growth, but at a price that we didn't want to pay, was bad in the long term. So we have very many good spots of growth there, but the importance of frozen and some other dimensions there is big. But maybe you, Chris, can add something more than that. But
well, no, it's true. I mean, North America is the most important market for Nestlé, and as Paul has mentioned, has been facing some challenges over the last few years, but we're optimistic looking ahead. We have very good results again in the pet care category. Pet care in North America is the largest category that we have continued to grow in both in value and in share. And also, we're very encouraged about the frozen food business, as was mentioned. A big business for us, where again we're seeing, especially toward the end of the year, some good momentum coming ahead, driven by some good innovations that are coming out. the end of last year, as well as some good plans coming into this year. So overall, North America is and will continue to be an important market for us.
Any further questions? Okay, last one, John.
Just to follow up, Dolce Gusto, I wondered if you could just tell us how that's faring. Last year you said that was on course to be a billionaire brand, but I actually didn't see its logo in your billionaire brands this time around, so it seems to have missed it. So how's that progressing? And secondly, just going back to developing markets again, you said this year obviously you were hit by obviously typhoons and one-offs like that, but surely that's the nature of where you are. So in these countries, so what's the sort of plan to kind of improve the performance out there this year?
Well, Dolce Gusto is, like it says, it's Dolce. And it's faring well. And you didn't miss it, it was not there, because you have to earn it. And it's closing in very fast, but it's not there. So we didn't want to spoil the value of being part of the billionaire brands. You have to really earn it. But I must say, Dolce Gusto has had a fantastic year again. It has grown where it has grown before already, which is good. It's not only a rollout. Europe has grown very interestingly, and it's part of that story in Europe, but only part, but an important part. So it is growing where it has grown already, and it is starting to grow very, very handsomely in many, many markets. I think we are now in 50 markets or something like that now already, and going. So this is definitely something that is Dolce. Now, in the developing market, to say is that it's going to have, is it going to gain some new colors, and where? I don't feel that it has lost color. Yes, indeed. We are living in a world, and when you have operations all over, I must say you have this intrinsic risk of presence, and you see, but we're proud because one of our strengths is, in spite of that all, we continue on going, and that is linked also with our, I would say, decentralization. If you just think, I'm so proud on this, that for example in Syria, in Damascus, we have one factory. We're still working, and that is not because we are sitting here on the Lake of Geneva thinking about solutions. It's definitely not here that we do that. It is there, and so in spite of headwinds, we have the people that drive with enough drive and creativity and ingenuity to really relink things. And also there's one underlying thing, again, the developing world, and is it going to grow as fast as, in general speaking, as it did in the past? And again, I'm quite okay with what we have to foresee there. It's going to be steady growth because there is an intrinsic dynamics in these countries that is linked with people. It's parents for the children, all that. There's a dynamics that I think also, because of a little bit of turbulence in the Western world, is fueling that auto drive of the developing world in a very handsome way. And if you see what's happening in Africa, many times considered as the lost continent, but you see spots of good governments going about framing their countries in a meaningful way. It has grown 5, 6, 7%. And we have increased our footprint there. So there's so much positive happening also. I would say not fancy, but positive happening in certain countries in Latin America. Others are a little bit more turbulent. There's so much happening in China. We see how we engage in China, and we have been growing very handsomely there too, together with the country. They're saying, well, 7-8% is no growth. Well, it is still 7-8%, and we don't work on GDPs. We want to grow above that. So I'm upbeat, and that the line of growth is definitely going to be a combination of engaging in the developed world, as we do with creativity initiatives. There's so much to be done still in these countries. So much opportunities for a company like ours, and so we grow there. And at the same time, we're an ant company. We also want to grow in the developing markets, as we have done in the past, by being there, by being part of society, by creating value for the company and for society at large. It's a fascinating journey, what's happening in the world. So many dynamics that are starting to be continuous, with a prospect of continuous development that is actually motivating us. You've seen it. We have invested heavily. Our capital expenditures went up. It is sizable. It's and quite geared towards where the volume growths are, without losing out on the Western world. Best example is our factory here in Switzerland, and we have so many others. Dolce Gusto is investing in 2 other areas, UK and Germany, and other areas. So, but again, so we are engaging. Our best expression of how we believe in the developing markets is our capital expenditures. That is the best expression of we trust that the underlying positive trends in these countries is to stay over a certain time, definitely.
Could you give anything like percentage growth rate for Dolce Gusto?
No, it's Dolce. It's very, very attractive.
No, I did say this morning at the webcast that we are expecting Nescafé Dolce Gusto to be part of the billionaire brands sooner than later.
That's clear.
Okay. If there are no other questions, I invite you to lunch and just outside the meeting room over there. Thank you very much.